So a cat is walking down the alley with the mother kittens. The mother's walking down with the kittens following behind her. All of a sudden, behind a big garbage dumpster, a dog jumps out and is about to attack the kittens. The mother cat rears back and starts to bark like a dog. The dog is actually frightened to see a cat barking, and he runs away. They get safely out of the alley, and the mother cat turns around to her kittens and says, "I told you the importance of learning a second language." I told you the importance of learning a second language. Beverly speaks a second language. In fact, Beverly speaks everybody's language. The Dalai Lama, presidents, corporate CEOs, but she hasn't lost the common touch. She's one of our city's greatest ambassadors. Through her tireless work, she has brought the world to Memphis. She is a PR genius who was able to transform a place of tragedy and pain into a treasure of hope and healing. She has a servant's heart. I read a recent article in Forbes magazine about great communicators. And the article said, great communicators focus on the leave-behinds, not the takeaways. The author, Mike Myatt, said, when you truly focus on contributing more than receiving, you have accomplished your goal. This statement defines Beverly's leadership style, a servant leader. She always tries to help everybody. She wears her staff out. In fact, people who know Beverly will tell you her role at the National Civil Rights Museum is not just a job for her. For her, it is her calling. I quote Beverly Robinson from an article in Road Trip Nation. "There is nothing wrong with having things, but there is a bigger responsibility that all of us have, and that is to lift and lend a hand to somebody else." I called several people to ask them to describe Beverly. I heard over and over again the words confident, strategic, warm-hearted, devoted, driven, passionate, storyteller, verbal, supremely verbal. But the comment I heard most often was never meets a stranger, connects with people, people just like her, never changes who she is, has the ability to make everyone feel at home, a true people person who has maximized her God-given gift of charisma. Her God-given gift of charisma. I asked Beverly's husband, Howard, how they met. I was just curious. Howard was in a wedding of a friend of Beverly's, and they were in Fort Worth, Texas. It was Howard's roommate, and they living in Texas. Howard was sent to pick up Beverly from the airport for his roommate. He had never seen Beverly. And remember, this was the day before we had cell phones. He only had 3 pieces of information his friend told him to look for. He said, her name is Beverly, she'll be wearing glasses, and she has big legs. Howard said he roamed around in one of the world's largest airports looking for the Beverly glasses and big legs. I thought Howard was about to say that because, Beverly has a presence. When she comes into the room, you don't even have to announce that she's here. You just know that she's there. And so I thought he was going to say, and out of all the people, I saw Beverly, and I knew it was her, and it was love at first sight. I knew that's what was coming next, but then he said, Beverly met a complete stranger sitting next to her on the plane, and he gave her a ride to the hotel. So he actually didn't meet her till later, but it proves my point. She connects with people. She connects with people. Beverly is a consummate communicator. She's the only person I know, and this actually happened. You can be sitting in her office having a conversation. The phone rings, it's CNN in the lobby. And without missing a beat, she keeps talking to you, picks up her purse, pulls out her lipstick, doesn't look in the mirror, but puts on the lipstick, doesn't miss anything, flawless, and then just walks out into the lobby to talk to national media. Always on point, always ready with her key messages, always professional. She has welcomed larger-than-life names like Nelson Mandela, the Dalai Lama, Bill Clinton, Mikhail Gorbachev, Coretta Scott King, Oprah Winfrey, Colin Powell, and many others. And because of her, our children can see and touch people they only read about in books. The Nobel laureate, amazing educators, civil and human rights leaders, business pioneers have come to embrace our museum, and she calls it the National Civil Rights Museum. And they embrace our city, all because Beverly extended her hand and her heart. Beverly knew that regular letters and phone calls would only go so far in convincing Nelson Mandela to accept the Freedom Award. So what did Beverly do? She got on a plane, flew to South Africa, and actually got to talk to Nelson Mandela. Beverly brought Nelson Mandela to Memphis. If you look up the word persistence in the dictionary, it says, see Beverly Robinson. I won't say who said it, but someone said to me, if you want to see it done, just tell Beverly she can't do it. Thanks to Beverly's vision, the National Civil Rights Museum has become more than a place to observe history. It is a mecca of triumph that connects all of us to our common humanity. One person told me that their company has diversity training class, and a particular employee didn't want to go. So they sent the group to tour the National Civil Rights Museum. After the tour, the employee came up and said, with tears streaming down her face, that tour of the museum has changed my life forever. Opening our eyes and building bridges that bring us together is an art that Beverly has mastered with grace and strength. It's been said that a strong woman is one who feels deeply and loves fiercely. Her tears flow just as abundantly as her laughter. A strong woman is both soft and powerful, both practical and spiritual. A strong woman in her essence is a gift to the world. Those words paint a colorful portrait of my dear friend, my precious sister, my tower of inspiration, and my keeper of the dream, Miss Beverly Roberts.
Rose, those were beautiful, beautiful words. And I just want to begin by thanking PRSA and the CVB for honoring Beverly Robertson as its Communicator of the Year. I can't think of anyone more deserving of this award. For when I think of outstanding leaders with the great power to communicate, Beverly Robertson's name certainly tops the list. Please know it is indeed an honor to have the chance to pay tribute to the life and service of this remarkable woman. I met Beverly, I would say some 17 years ago, when she was tapped to lead the National Civil Rights Museum. As everyone in this room knows, she's a remarkable leader and a masterful communicator. She joined the museum early on at a critical juncture and led this important institution, one of our city's most sacred and treasured assets, through momentous progress and to national and international prominence. She has had a profound effect on our community and our nation, as reflected in her numerous honors and awards that have been bestowed upon her. But today, I want to briefly touch on Beverly the person, my friend and my sister in life's journey. Simply put, meeting Beverly and getting the chance to work with her over the years has been one of my life's greatest blessings. Beverly, In the time we've known each other, we've done some really important work for the museum and for other efforts we believed critical for the future of a city we both deeply love. We've endured sleepless nights over Freedom Award scripts, and I think Rose has been part of that, labored over renovations, raised money for causes that we've cared about. But most importantly, through all of this, we developed a friendship and a bond that I know will endure forever. When I think of Beverly, a few kind of descriptive words come to mind, some of which Rose highlighted. But in the interest of time, I'm going to talk about three. First, to me, she's a uniter. It's the hallmark of her career. She's earned a national reputation for bringing unnatural allies and stakeholders together, seeking common ground, and uniting us all in a greater calling. And even though you may be in a room of 1,000, Beverly has this remarkable gift of making everyone feel as if they're the only person in the room. Second, I think Beverly is a teacher. She's started her career as a teacher, and although she's no longer in the classroom, she has continued to teach all of us important life lessons. The firm belief that every life has equal value and deserves equal opportunity. The importance of honesty, transparency, and high integrity in all that we do. Finally, she's a keeper of the dream. She's passionate, she's bold, and she's courageous. She inspires us by example to not sit on the sidelines, but to be the change that we wish to see in the world, and to live out the legacy of the civil rights giants that have sacrificed and gone before us. To sum it all up, to me, she is admired, trusted, and followed, the epitome of a great servant leader. Anyone who knows Beverly also knows that she loves quotes and poems and often incorporates them into her great speeches. And in honoring her, I thought it would be appropriate to do just that. A poem attributed to Stanley came to mind as it reflects Beverly's views on life and success. You know, it's to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, and to endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. Beverly, my dear friend, you have accomplished this many, many times over. Countless lives have been changed because of your presence in this world. I am one of those. Always know that when I count my blessings, I count you twice. Congratulations, my dear friend.
Thank you so much, Rose and Teresa, for your kind words. Obviously, Beverly's had quite an impact on both of you. Well, as if Rose and Teresa weren't enough, one other special guest wanted to come and discuss the impact that Beverly's had on his life. It's not everybody who has the mayor come to their luncheon to honor them. I'd like to bring up the Honorable Mayor A.C. Wharton.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. Thanks, Beverly, for allowing me to share in this most deserved moment and tribute. It is truly deserved. Actually, my invitation here was one of those, what they call kind of a backhanded compliment. They told me that the society exists to exemplify the best of communications, and they needed someone to kind of show the worst of communications, particularly when it comes to talking with your city council, so they couldn't. So they invited me. I won't be staying long. I'm going to leave right after this. it reminds me of what my wife, who has a personality quite like Beverly's, Howard, you know what I mean, that's just between me and you. It's a mutual suffering society at times. And then at times when she gets a little upset with me, she'll just get frustrated and she'll look at me and say, you know what? No man is totally useless. You can always serve as a bad example. And sometimes I feel that way when it comes to communication. I'm making you look real good today, Beverly. But to the society, thanks so much for honoring Beverly. The whole city really ought to do this, quite frankly. I often say that most people would prefer to see a sermon any day as opposed to hearing one. Beverly does not merely communicate by what she articulates in words, but the speech has already been rendered and delivered when she walks into the room. I mean, the enthusiasm before she ever gets to the mic, whatever the cause is, if she just walks in, the message is there before she utters one word. That enthusiasm, that seriousness of purpose, that plain old feeling that just because I know it and believe in it doesn't mean that they ought to likewise know it, that it's my responsibility to make sure to deliver, not in a way that I understand it, but how do I deliver, not merely by word, but by deed and emotion, the message that I'm trying to get across. You know, it's often said, what is it, if you get a job, you'll have to work all your life, you get a vocation, something you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. She loves what she's been doing. I don't think she's worked a day in her life. This is more than a job. This is a love, this is a passion, and it shows. And if more of us, in pursuit of our various causes, were to pursue them with that vigor, with that love, with that determination, this place would be so much better. It's all about communications. You are gold in this city. There are so many stereotypes, so many gaps, so many divides that we fail because we think that everybody's of the same mind, everybody's of the same understanding level. To be able to cross those gaps without being condescending and haughty and arrogant, that's treasure. That's gold. That's precious in this city. How many people can take what could be one of America's most sordid chapters and turn it into a place that is called by USA Today one of the most iconic places, a must-visit place that takes the hardest of hearts when they enter that door, and when they come out, they're like a mushroom. They're putty. They're mushroom. They have been touched. The hardest of the hard, the cruelest of the cruel, are converted, not in a way of being chastised or ridiculed or spoken down to. That's Beverly. That's not bricks and mortar. A brick wall never communicated anything. A steel beam has never said one word. But Beverly is in that place. You've heard the gospel song, there's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place. There is an understanding spirit. There is a compassionate spirit. There is a spirit that wishes to communicate, that wishes to deliver understanding, that is in that place. The exhibits are great. The decorations, everything is great, but the spirit is even greater. That spirit is Beverly. This time of year on a rainy day, think of a compost pile if you wish. Anybody ever seen a compost pile on a day like today? Is there anything pretty about an old compost pile with decaying things there, stuff that you've thrown away? It's not very pretty. 1968 wasn't very pretty in this city, but 1968 and the years following, particularly from the Civil Rights Museum, represent the compost pile of America, which, although ugly on rainy, chilly days, gives rise and birth to the prettiest rose come spring. You're our rose. Keep shining, keep that fragrance, keep on communicating. We love you. God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor Wharton. Well, I had a few remarks to add, but I don't think much more can be said after that, except if you looked up amazing in the dictionary, I'm pretty sure Beverly would be there also. So without further ado, it is my pleasure on behalf of the membership of the Memphis chapter of the Public Relations Society of America to present 2014's Communicator of the Year to Miss Beverly Robertson.
Wow. Am I all that? It's hard to believe, but I don't know. I have gotten very tearful in my old age as people talk about the things that have been accomplished in this city, and certainly the things that the National Civil Rights Museum has been able to do and what it really has meant. But first, I just want to thank my friends. You know, I cannot tell you how much we've gone through, how many difficult times and challenges, but I'm going to say this. These are my sisters. And you've heard about a brother by a different mother? Okay, well, these are sisters by a different mister. So I want you to understand how much they really mean to me and the tremendous difference they have made. And I see so many people who are here that I have loved and worked with. Kevin Kane goes back way beyond the museum with me to my old Holiday Inn days. And everybody at that table I have had the opportunity to work with. And I can't say enough about the folks who are the staff of the National Civil Rights and National Civil Rights Museum staff. I couldn't do what I do without great staff, a great staff. Thank you, thank you. And then I better not forget my husband, Howard, or he will just knock me out when I get home. Stand up, Howard, let them recognize you. Stand up, Howard. Don't let me have to take it to Deep Orange Mound on you. You know I'll do that. Well, first, I want to just tell you how significant this award is to me. You know, the best award you can receive is an award from people that you may not know, but who have seen you and admired your work from afar. And I just want you to know that I appreciate it. I get a number of recognitions and awards, but for communicating, something that I do every day, I didn't notice that people even cared or noticed that I was a communicator, but I am honored, I am humbled to be receiving this award today. But I want to take you back on a communications journey with me. When I started communicating, let me tell you, this is what my friends may not know, and many of you here may not know it. Howard may be the only one who knows what I'm about to say. When I was 5 years old, I would have an Easter speech at church to give on Resurrection Sunday. Now, how many of you had Easter speeches to give? How many of you know about Easter speeches? Okay, and you know about the kids who would get up there and they might say, I didn't come to stay, I just came to say it's Easter Day. Or if they would speak, they might get up and they may forget what they're saying and they'd stand up, but the mothers in the back say, go on, baby, come on, baby, come on. Just say Jesus wept. And so many times, kids would just say what the old mother in the back told them to say. Well, even then, at 5 years old,
my speech always had 3 or 4 verses, and I always remembered everything. I committed everything to memory, and I would spit it back. Well, then I got older, and I started school. And I remember Mrs. Gibson, my teacher in the 3rd grade class at Melrose High School. I participated in a competition to read the scripture on a PTA meeting. It was a big PTA meeting. It was going to be the biggest assembly of parents and teachers that Melrose had had. So I went home and I told my mom, you got to help me learn this scripture. I got to learn it. You got to work with me every day because I got to get it right. I got to do it. I won the competition. And then came the time when I had to speak before this audience. I guess I was about 8 years old. Well, it happened to be Psalms, the 19th chapter. And to this day, I know Psalms, the 19th chapter. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their lines are gone out to all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. And it goes on. I won't give you the whole scripture, but it is amazing what encouragement and early education can do to change the life of a child. So be cognizant, parents, of what you do with a child when they are 3 years old, 4, 5, because it impacts their life tremendously when they are very young. Well, as time passed, I moved into the 6th grade. And by now, I was going to Hanley Elementary School. I had a chance to participate in a citywide Arbor Day contest. And how many of you, do you know what an Arbor Day contest is? You know, Arbor Day, planting trees? Thank you. Good. I had to write an essay, and this was a citywide contest where the winner got the opportunity to read their essay. Well, I won 2nd place in that competition, had an opportunity to communicate again. And then as I culminated my education at Melrose High School as a senior, we always had representatives from each class to run for various slots. So it came to a time where we were competing for Miss Melrose. I was nominated from my homeroom to run, but I recognized my family is poor. I certainly wasn't the most popular girl, nor was I among the prettiest girls. And I couldn't claim to be from a family of great means. But here's what I felt. If someone thinks me worthy to run and represent them, then represent I will. And so, as we ran competitively, in order to have the assembly and all the kids know who you were, you had to speak at the assembly program. Well, we all lined up across the stage to be introduced. We all took our seats. So the first person, who was actually a majorette, and by the way, if you all know Larry Finch, it was Vicki Finch. She came before me. She was cute, had big legs too. So Vicki got up and she spoke. And then who followed her was a young lady named Vera Jane McKinney, and she was the one who told me she had a new dress for every day of the week for 2 weeks. I was thinking, well, I probably have a hand-me-down for every day of the week for 2 weeks. So she spoke, and she sat down, and then my turn came. So I mounted the podium, I stepped up, and as the rest of them were speaking, you could hear this talking in the audience. You know, kids talk, all doing presentations. But as I started to speak, I started to talk like Dr. King about this tremendous dream that I had, and how I knew that everyone just like me had a dream like that. And so I culminated my speech, and as I started to go to my seat, 5 people stood up to clap. Then 50 stood up to clap. And finally, the whole auditorium was standing on their feet applauding. And I don't know what kind of feeling I felt, but I was just amazed that that story had resonated with everybody in that room. And so we mounted our campaigns, we voted, and the rest is history. I became Miss Melrose. So my communications journey has continued, and it ultimately landed me at the National Civil Rights Museum. So you must know that this award that I'm receiving today belongs to a number of people. It belongs to my mom and my dad, my husband Howard, my teachers, my principals, my staff at the museum, friends like Rose and Teresa. These are people who have always believed in me when I've been right and when I've been wrong, when I've been soft, but most of the time I've been loud. They have encouraged me as I've gone on my way in the field of communications, and I am certainly honored that you consider me worthy. But I can tell you, the past 16 years at the National Civil Rights Museum, I've had the honor of working for the greatest museum in the world. And if there is anybody, let me see the hands of anybody who has not been to the museum. Raise your hand, raise your hand. Because I'm going to beat you down right now. I'm going to get you if you haven't been. Okay, good. Everybody's been. Then if you have been, you understand why I feel this way. I feel as if I live in a house I did not build. I live in a house I did not build. Meaning, I did not create the opportunity that today I and so many African Americans enjoy. Others fought. They struggled. They stood for me even when I was not in existence. It is them that I really owe for all that I have and all that I am. So the work that I do at the National Civil Rights Museum means something special to me. It means something to me. And as we get ready to reopen the historic Lorraine Motel, I just want you to get a sneak preview of what this tremendous staff has worked so hard for. You may know that for the last 18 months, we've been under renovation, doing a $28 million renovation. It's a part of a $40 million capital and endowment campaign for the institution. So we are about finished with most of that work. We will be opening March 1st, 2014. And what I would like to do is begin to just give you a bit of a sneak preview of what you will see, and I hope all of you take advantage of the opportunity to come to this iconic museum. We actually have developed new signage so that is on Main Street, which allows people to definitely know when they are at this strategic landmark. And before it was kind of muted, it was very sophisticated and beautiful, but it's red now. And I think it's big enough to be seen. In fact, Teresa came to me one day and she said, "Isn't it a little big?" I said, "Baby, the bigger the better." So this is what our new signage will look like. And we also have 5 listening posts that will sit in the courtyard of the National Civil Rights Museum. These listening posts will tell a story. And why do we have those? We have them because there are people who come to the National Civil Rights Museum at night, on holidays. They need to understand what a historic landmark this really is, and they need to learn something about the movement. So we start the educational process about this history from the outside in. So there'll be 5 of them. We talk about Memphis' role in the movement, the sanitation worker strike, what brought King to Memphis, the founding of the museum. And so it is truly an education. But we say if you love what you got here, you better come inside. Because we don't want to miss the opportunity to get them to come inside the museum. We actually open up our lobby area. And we have a spiral staircase now leading from the 1st to 2nd floor. We have the Movement to Overcome, which is a phenomenal statue, which really is a maquette, the smaller maquette that we actually present to our Freedom Award recipients. And when I tell you that it is powerful and beautiful, it is literally the most beautiful entry in a museum that I have seen anywhere. And we have opened up the lobby area because when we're busy, people are lined up all around the museum trying to get in because you go in and out the same way. Now when you come in, you go to the right and you go to the admissions desk. And it allows people to exit from the staircase, top of the staircase down, because that's where our shop now will be located, on the second floor. And we have a theater that is big, it's bigger, and this is not the introductory film, but as we sort of pitched for the agency, they created a film, and I want you to just take a listen to what this film is really all about. Sound up.
Our journey has never been one of shortcuts or settling for less. It has not been the path for the faint-hearted.
Now is the time to make justice a reality for all across Europe.
Because of a proclamation penned in the name of freedom and a journey toward equality and respect.
Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy.
Because of hard-earned victories in Congress and faith in a better tomorrow.
Time and again, these men and women struggled and sacrificed so that we might live a better life.
Because of setbacks suffered in the courtroom and a people who refused to be set back.
As we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. We cannot turn back.
And so as the film concludes, the screens part, and you enter the exhibition floor. So, I'm not going to be able to share everything, but I'm going to show you some pivotal exhibitions that are really important. You can move forward. This is a phenomenal exhibition, and it really is at the beginning of the experience, literally before you get into the theater. But what it speaks to is a culture of resistance. Back in 1619, African Americans came to the shores of America. And what you're seeing is a cutout of a slave ship with those images underneath. But it allows young people, and those of us small enough, to squeeze into that space to feel the tremendous inhumanity of what it must have felt like to cross the Middle Passage. So kids get to step into it. It becomes experiential and transformative. In that same gallery, we talk about the founding fathers, and you hear the voices of people who were mimicking what slaves thought and what they felt like. And it's pushed. So much of what we're doing is adding an experiential element, and a tactical element. We're placing you, the visitor, in the middle of the experience. And that is going to be impactful, because you're not just walking through looking at a book on the wall. You are walking through participating in the experience. This is the cause of justice, but it really is about Brown versus Board of Education. So you see juxtaposed the classroom on one side and the courtroom on the other side, because literally education was changed in two phases, in the courtroom and the classroom. In the courtroom, you'll actually have a video that really talks about what happened, the landmark legislation that was passed in 1954, and then you'll get a chance to sit at some desks and really interact and look at what's in them, so kids can sit and play and learn at the same time by going through this Brown versus Board experience. And by the way, we will also have a contemporary board up so that we can post not only what happened then, but let's begin to connect the past with the present so that we can talk about what's going on in our times on the issue of education. Because in many ways, I feel as if we're fighting Brown v. Board all over again. Not just in Memphis, but all across this country in many ways. And of course, we couldn't have the National Civil Rights Museum, and we would not exist were it not for people like Reverend Lawson and those sanitation workers
who decided that they were tired of being treated inhumanely and tired of having inequitable working conditions and compensation. So we're expanding the story of the sanitation workers. We have moved the truck up to the second level. We'll have a scrim on it, and we're going to show video off the side of the truck. And then we're expanding the exhibition to talk a lot more about literally what happened, how was the strike settled, what was the compensation that they received after they finished the strike. And many of you know there's a battle still brewing about them not having pension. So many of them are 70 years old and still working right now because they cannot afford to retire. They don't have the money to. And then this next one shows a little bit about how we're expanding the information panels that are central to the Memphis sanitation workers strike. And this is another shot of it. And in the back, you will see work by the historic photojournalist Ernest Withers on the wall here. So, you know, we have worked really hard. We have scholars that have come from across the country, from Stanford University to Ohio State. We have scholars from Memphis, but we have a scholarly review team, people who are specialists in their areas, and they have all contributed to it. In fact, they said to us when they left, this is the best scholarship in this area for the last 2 decades. So it's the best scholarship in 20 years. So we're excited, and you know we're excited, and that means that you've got to come. I know some of you haven't been to the museum. I know it, but you're ashamed, right? You are ashamed to say it right now, but that's okay, because you're going to have another opportunity. When we open up March 1st, and when we plan our opening activities beginning the week of February 22nd, you are going to see why we are so excited and why we have worked so hard. Not just because, you know, we needed the renovation, but because the power of this story is not just an African American story, it is an American story. And each of you should be able to find your voice right at the National Civil Rights Museum. So I want to talk, this is actually the Mountaintop Theater as well, where you get to hear the voice of King and the words from his last speech. And by the way, I don't have the King room up here, but you know that's the greatest artifact that we have. So as people get ready to leave the experience, they'll leave the theater, they'll go by the King room, and then they will begin to exit, and they'll walk into the gift shop on the second floor, and then down the spiral staircase and out the museum. So I thought, I'm not thank you, Kevin. Kevin is my friend.
Yeah, what about all those tourists?
I know, we're helping you out, right? Our schedule of reopening activities, we're actually doing a poetry slam that is targeted to 15 to 20-somethings. And it's called, what is it, Clay?
It's the drop of the mic.
Drop the mic. For those young people who are poets, who love spoken word, they can participate in it. You can go online and register for it. There are wonderful gifts and awards that we're getting, because we got to realize that half the folks in America today weren't even born when the civil rights movement took place. So we need to be able to engage them in a different way. We're going to have a literary fair. We're doing that for educators. But we're doing something phenomenal with the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. That was signed into law in 1964. This is the 50th anniversary. We're going to bring in folks like John Lewis. We'll bring our Attorney General in to discuss it. We're going to have judges and lawyers and community leaders. All of us, in many ways, have benefited from the results and outcomes of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So we're going to actually commemorate that on the 27th. And then grand reopening day, you better be in the place. It is going to start with a big parade. We're going to have speakers. We hope to have some of our Freedom Award recipients come back on that day. We have written to President Obama, and while they are saying he cannot confirm this far in advance, but we anticipate having someone, certainly from the White House, and he's not going to tell me until it gets a lot closer to that date. So We are moving on up in so many ways. And I hope that you are as excited as I am about what is going on in Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis is an awesome city. And for those of you who don't know it yet, you better ask somebody. Because Memphis is a place that I love. I don't care how many people talk bad about it. They need to get out of my way. Because Memphis is a great city with great people just like you. And again, I thank you for the honor. I appreciate it. And I want you to come and see me at the National Civil Rights Museum. Thank you very much.